guys, and welcome back to Random Librarian on YouTube. Today we are going to be doing a bit of a book haul. So this isn't quite as extensive as the last one, which ended up being a three-part series on books and advanced reader copies that I had gotten at the American Library Association conference. This one is kind of, I guess, more along the lines of stress buys. Unfortunately for me, when work gets very stressful, because I work in a library, I don't want to go to a different library and get books. I should probably retrain my brain so that that is more comfortable, but like when work is going super well, I always want to spend even more time in other libraries, but when I'm nervous about things in my professional life, I tend to gravitate more towards bookstores. But things have been very busy at work, so I have picked up a lot of books to read, and I figured why not do a little share right now. So some of these were buys, some of them were on sale, and some of them were from a little free library. So I'm going to start with those because they were free, and that makes it seem less bad that I've bought this many books within the past couple of months. Starting off is a Murakami. So I haven't read this one yet. It is called Norwegian Wood, and I've been told that it is the most normal of any of his books. So it says, when he hears her favorite Beatles song, Toru Watanabe recalls his first love, Naoko, the girlfriend of his best friend Kazuki. Immediately, he is transported back almost 20 years to his student days in Tokyo, adrift in a world of uneasy friendships, casual sex, passion, loss, and desire, to a time when an impetuous young woman called Midori marched into his life and he had to choose between the future and the past. So that seems interesting. I don't really know what it is, but I love Haruki Murakami's writing style, and I think that the stories that they choose to tell are really, really interesting. So I'm really excited for this one. Pretty much going to be talking about how excited I am for all of these books because I wouldn't have bought them if I didn't think they sounded really interesting. Or, well, some of them are just, they look really pretty, so that's also a thing. We're judging some things by their covers. The other book that I picked up from the little free library is actually a collection of essays. So I don't normally go for essays. I don't know why. I think they can be really fun, but I haven't ever really bought one of these before. But I was so pulled in by the title of this. Whoever came up with this, I hope it was the author, it might have been the editor, it might have been the publisher, who knows? They were genius. It's called I Was Told There'd Be Cake, Essays by Sloane Crosley. That's amazing. It's beautiful, it's amazing, and the people who are commenting on the back of this are also, startlingly amazing, so that's gonna be great. Colson Whitehead has a quote on this. Hilarious and affecting and only occasionally scatological, I Was Told There'd Be Cake is lively reminiscence about growing up strange. Sardonic without being cruel, tender without being sentimental, Sloane Crosley will win you over with this delightful debut. Colson Whitehead. Wow! That must have made her cry when she read that for the first time. That's an amazing quote from him. Anyways, the summary is, from accidentally despoiling an exhibit at the Museum of Natural History to sicking the cops on the wrong neighbor, Sloane Crosley can do no right, despite the best of intentions. Or perhaps because of them. In a sharp, original storytelling style that confounds expectations at every turn, Crosley recounts her victories and catastrophes with an irresistible voice that is all her own, finding genuine insights in the most unpredictable places. So yeah, I'm excited because it seems like she's lived a life, or maybe even a life and a half at this point, and it looks really exciting. Wow, okay, it's also at the bottom it says, her essays have appeared in various publications including Playboy, Salon, the New York Times, and The Village Voice, where she was a frequent contributor. She also wrote the cover story for the worst-selling issue of Maxim in the magazine's history. She just sounds like, yeah. If I'm going to be reading anyone's collection of essays, I'm glad it's this one. Thank you, Sloane. So when I was at the free library, I was actually at home, so on my way down to the beach, I stopped at this book seller thing. I think it's a permanent bookstore, but it looks like a pop-up, and it's in South Station, which I found really, really cool because I was there early for my train, and I was like, I'll just read, and then I ended up buying 2 books. And those 2 books are The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock and The Girl Who Could Move Beep with Her Mind. And I love the way that they wrote that out because it's literally SH asterisk T. So The Mermaid and Mrs. Hancock is by Imogen Hermes Gowar, and I've actually heard a lot about this. And people seem to really love it. And I'm even looking at the back and I'm like, well, I'm going to really love it because someone describes it as with characters you might meet in a Jane Austen novel. So the summary for this one is, one September evening in 1785, just beyond the docks of London, Jonah Hancock hears an urgent knocking on his front door. The captain of one of Jonah's trading vessels is waiting eagerly on the front step, bearing shocking news. On a voyage to the Far East, he sold Jonah's ship for something rare and far more precious, a mermaid. Jonah is stunned. The mermaid the captain presents him is brown, wizened, and as small as an infant, with vicious teeth and claws, and a torso that ends in the tail of a fish. It is also dead. As gossip spreads through the docks, coffee shops, parlors, and brothels, all of London is curious to see the marvel in Jonah's possession. Thrust from his ordinary existence, somber Jonah finds himself moving from the city's seedy underbelly to the finest drawing rooms of high society. At an opulent party, he makes the acquaintance of the coquettish Angelica Neal, the most desirable woman he has ever laid eyes on, and a shrewd courtesan of great accomplishment. This meeting sparks a liaison that steers both their lives onto a perilous new course, for priceless things often come at the greatest cost. So, I've been posting pictures of a lot of these covers on Instagram because I'm really, really excited for them. And this is one that actually people have said, oh, I've read that, I loved that, I'm really excited to hear your thoughts, or like, I'm currently reading that, so it's, one of those ones that I'm just like, ready to dive right into, like a mermaid. Plus the contrast between the blue and the orange spine, I think it's a beautiful book. Obviously, it's just attention grabbing in how it looks. And then this one is attention grabbing because there's so much contrast going on, and the title is just so good. So good. So The Girl Who Could Move Shit with Her Mind is by Jackson Ford. And on the front, Maria Lewis describes it as like Alias meets X-Men. I loved it. So I love both of those things. I love spy shows. I love spy movies. I love anything Marvel. Sometimes DC, more Marvel, but that's something for a different day. So we're gonna just dive right into the back as well. It says, for Tegan Frost, shit just got real. Tegan Frost is having a hard time keeping it together. Sure, she's got telekinetic powers, a skill that the government is all too happy to make use of, sending her on secret break-in missions that no ordinary human could carry out. But all she really wants to do is kick back, have a beer, and pretend she's normal for once. But then a body turns up at the site of her last job, murdered in a way that only someone like Tegan could have pulled off. She's got 24 hours to clear her name. And it's not just her life at stake. If she can't unravel the conspiracy in time, her hometown of Los Angeles will be in the crosshairs for an underground battle that's on the brink of exploding. So this just seems like it is going to be a crazy, crazy ride, and I'm here for it. I am super here for it. The things they picked for all of these things that in my mind are being like juggled telekinetically by Tegan is just... It's such a fun cover, such a fun premise, and I'm just ready. When it rains, I tend to walk through the Prudential Center to get home, and that is dangerous for a couple reasons, because there are some of my favorite stores there, so I can get I'll stop and get some dinner things or some little snacks from Italy. I'll pop into Sephora to see if there's any little minis that I need to buy, or at Madewell to see if they're having a sale, which they are currently, so that was fun, and I got a pair of overalls that set me back a little bit. And then, of course, there's also a Barnes & Noble. So last time it rained, I went in because they were having a pretty great sale on, very popular paperbacks. I want to say it was buy one, get one free. or buy one, get one half off or something along those lines. So I picked up 3 from that section, and then I also picked up this last one, which I'm gonna, you know what, I'll start with this one. So I picked up a Witch City mystery, and it's called Late Checkout by Carol J. Perry. So I picked this up because of my last rant review and the kind of rage read that I did of The Mystery of Jane Doe, the Lily Barlow mystery, because I don't think I've given cozy mysteries enough of a chance, and I think this falls more into that category than the Lily Barlow one does. But please give me some suggestions for ones that you actually liked in the comments, if not, because I also don't know if I'm gonna like this one, but it has a lot of things about it that maybe I will. So it starts with a dead ball player means a foul play in Salem, ... Field reporter Lee Barrett is not happy that her hours are being cut back at WICH TV, so Witch TV, although it is nice to spend more time volunteering with Aunt Ibby, a research librarian at Salem's main branch. But Lee's least favorite task is going up to the stacks, a spooky, seldom frequented upper section of the library. On this day, she has good reason to be afraid. She finds a dead man, surrounded by hundreds of scattered books and torn out pages. Her police detective beau, Pete Mondello, is soon on the scene, and the deceased is identified as a former minor league baseball player and ex-con named Wee Willie Wallace, who hasn't been seen in Salem for 20 years. With help from her friend River's tarot reading, her clairvoyant cat Orion, and Lee's own psychic gifts, she steps up to the plate to catch the killer who took the old ball player out of the game. So, I live in Massachusetts. I don't think I've ever actually been to Salem during kind of like witchy October. So I figured this might be a fun way to keep in touch with my state's witchy roots. And, you know, I'm a librarian, so the fact that there's a library involved, even if she doesn't like the stacks, which I find offensive, it would be fun. We loved minor league games when I was a kid too, so like I love that aspect. And I figured I'd just give it a try. It's like, could be a fun magical realism version of librarians, reporters, and witches all in one go. So we'll see. It was cheap, so I picked it up. That's really what happened here. The other ones are ones that I am more excited for than that, even though I figured I would give it a try. The Book Charmer by Karen Hawkins is one such of these books. So this I'm really excited for because to me it sounds like a mix between Inkheart, which was one of my favorite books when I was a kid, and Once Upon a Time. And you'll see why when I read the back. Sarah Dove is no ordinary bookworm. To her, books have always been more than just objects. They live, they breathe, and sometimes they even speak. When Sarah grows up to become the librarian in her quaint southern town of Dove Pond, North Carolina, her gift helps place every book in the hands of the perfect reader. Recently, however, the books have been whispering about something out of the ordinary, the arrival of a displaced city girl named Grace Wheeler. If the books are right, Grace could be the savior that Dove Pond desperately needs. The problem is, Grace wants little to do with the town or its quirky residents, Sarah chief among them. It takes a bit of urging and the help of an especially wise book, but Grace ultimately embraces the challenge to rescue her charmed new community. In her quest, she discovers the tantalizing promise of new love, the deep strength that comes from having a true friend, and the power of finding just the right book. The Book Charmer is a heartwarming story about the magic of books that feels more than a little... Okay. This sentence, I don't like this sentence. I'm sorry, just fair warning. The Book Charmer is a heartwarming story about the magic of books that feels more than a little magical itself. Prepare to fall under its spell. But you literally just said it was the magic of books. Oh, guys, like, I see what you were trying to do there, but I don't like that. I hadn't read that sentence before, especially not out loud. But I'm not gonna let it bug me. I'm excited for the book itself. In addition to just the amazing description, the gold and the colors, it just seems like it's such a beautiful cover, and the premise is so wonderful that I picked it up. Also, the letters are raised, which is a nice touch. This next one is called Differently Morphous by Yahtzee Croshaw, who apparently has a different name in, like on his birth certificate. Good to know. But it is fun that you can put the name Yahtzee on something. This is what this looks like. And this one to me feels like a mix between like Harry Potter and like maybe like Doctor Who or Men in Black or something else like kind of along those lines. Almost sci-fi, but like very much based in like a magical community. So it starts with a magical serial killer is on the loose, and gelatinous otherworldly creatures are infesting the English countryside, which is making life for the Ministry of Occultism difficult, because magic is supposed to be their best kept secret. See where I'm getting the Harry Potter vibes? See them? There we are, Harry Potter. But it's the Ministry of Occultism. Don't get it twisted. After centuries in the shadows, the Ministry, capital M, is forced to unmask, exposing the country's magical history and magical citizens to a brave new world of social media, government scrutiny, and public relations. On the trail of the killer are the Ministry's top agents, a junior operative with a photographic memory, and not much else, a couple of overgrown schoolboys with godlike powers, and a demonstrably insane magician. But as they struggle for results, their superiors at HQ must face the greatest threat the Ministry has ever known, the forces of political correctness. ... So that last part makes me kind of nervous because I really hope that it's not going to be like offensive. I think political correctness is a good thing for the most part. So fingers crossed that doesn't get weird, but the rest of the book and the premise and the true crime elements, but like tinged with magic, should be really fun. And the last one that I bought during that bookstore visit was incredibly influenced by Bookstagram. You can follow me at Random Librarians on Instagram if you would like to do so for shorter form things, and you would have already seen some of these books before I posted this video if you had been following me before now. So this one I purchased because it is very striking and everyone who read it seemed to really, really enjoy it. It is called The Au Pair by Emma Roos. Like, she is a style icon. Look at her. So I think this is Seraphine Mays on the cover, because she and her twin brother Danny were born in the middle of summer at their family's estate on the Norfolk coast. Within hours of their birth, their mother threw herself from the cliffs, the au pair fled, and the village thrilled with whispers of dark cloaks, changelings, and the aloof couple who drew a young nanny into their inner circle. Now an adult, Seraphine mourns the recent death of her father. While going through his belongings, she uncovers a family photograph that raises dangerous questions. It was taken on the day the twins were born, and in the photo, their mother, seated between her husband and her young son, is smiling serenely and holding just one baby. Dun, dun, dun. Who is the child and what really happened that day? Good questions. Great questions. I need to know the answers. So I love stories that kind of deal with, nannies or au pairs and that kind of relationship. So I'm wondering kind of how they're going to play with that relationship with the au pair who left and the mother who committed suicide. And then anytime the word changeling pops up on something, I have to read it immediately. I am a huge Irish studies nerd, and being able to have that mixed in with the storyline makes me really happy, even if they don't fully go the supernatural route. So, the au pair. And then these last ones, most of them were on sale at the Brookline Booksmith, which is one of my favorite bookstores in and around Boston. They have a secondhand, like the entire basement is all secondhand books. So I found Little Bee, which I've been looking for kind of passively, but I've been wanting to read for a really long time. I found that one just like right on the new books, new fiction in the Bargain Book Basement, and I was so excited because it's crazy intriguing on the back. They say, "We don't want to tell you what happens in this book. It is a truly special story, and we don't want to spoil it. Nevertheless, you need to know enough to buy it, so we will just say this. This is the story of two women. Their lives collide one fateful day, and one of them has to make a terrible choice. the kind of choice we hope you never have to face. 2 years later, they meet again. The story starts there. Once you have read it, you'll want to tell your friends about it. When you do, please don't tell them what happens. The magic is in how the story unfolds. That's just... If you don't feel intrigued to read that, I can't relate. Like, I just find that such great marketing and such a great hook. I definitely want to read it now. And I did before, but I have a copy now, which is pretty great. And then these two that I picked up were on sale upstairs. So they were kind of like, I think, overstock almost. So these were each $5.99 and $7.99. So I have Good Me, Bad Me by Ali Land and Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. So I'm really excited for both of these, as I've been saying for all of the books that I have in this video. But I'm especially excited for Kate Atkinson's book because I remember taking a picture of the audiobook of this at a library job that I had during grad school and just thinking, wow, I want to read that. Like, I want to know what happens with that story. And I just hadn't picked it up yet. And then I saw it and I was like, well, guess now's the time. It's been a couple years in the making. So let me just give you an idea of why I've been so excited for this book for such a long time. What if you could live again and again until you got it right? On a cold and snowy night in 1910, Ursula Todd is born, the third child of a wealthy English banker and his wife. She dies before she can draw her first breath. On that same cold and snowy night, Ursula Todd is born, lets out a lusty wail, and embarks upon a life that will be, to say the least, unusual. For as she grows, she also dies repeatedly in any number of ways. Ursula's world is in turmoil, and she faces the unspeakable evil of the greatest war in history. What power and force can one woman exert over the fate of civilization, if only she has the chance? How amazing is that? And I know Kate Atkinson has like a whole bunch of other books out, and I know that people really, really love her, so I feel like this kind of story is going to be treated extremely well, and I'm thrilled to finally have my own copy. Then I picked up Good Me, Bad Me because it's another kind of story of murder, mayhem, and the people around the criminals. It starts with the first sentence. Millie's mother is a serial killer. And I loved My Sister, the Serial Killer so much, and seeing that kind of story played out from the perspective of the people closest to the serial killer is really interesting. And I doubt this will be handled in quite the same way as My Sister, the Serial Killer, because that is such a unique story. But this sounds similarly amazing. So Millie loves her mother, but the only way to make her stop is to turn her into the police. Millie is given a fresh start, a new identity, a home with an affluent foster family, and a spot at an exclusive private school. New name, new family, shiny new Millie. But her foster family has their own secrets, and the girls at her new school are bullying her, and the prosecution wants Millie to be the star witness at her mother's trial. They have no idea who they are dealing with. As the trial looms, Millie's past haunts her, and Millie wonders how much of her is nature, how much of her is nurture, and whether she is doomed to turn out like her mother. Will she be good, or is she bad? She is, after all, her mother's daughter. I don't think there's anything I can add to that would make it seem even better than I'm already thinking it is. And then the final buy is the one that I bought full price because I've been meaning to get it for such a long time, and it's been recommended to me by so many people whose opinions I really value and trust. And it is Milkman, a novel by Anna Burns, winner of the Man Booker Prize of 2018. I wanted to see if they had the new cover, which is beautiful, which I've seen on Instagram, but they didn't, so I just bought the standard one, which is also beautiful, and like that soft matte that I love so much. So if you haven't come across this one yet, it is described thusly. In an unnamed city, middle sister stands out for the wrong reasons. She reads while walking, for one, and she has been taking French night classes downtown. So when a local paramilitary known as the Milkman begins pursuing her, she suddenly becomes interesting. The last thing she ever wanted to be. Despite middle sister's attempts to avoid him and to keep her mother from finding out about her maybe boyfriend, rumors spread and the threat of violence lingers. Milkman is a story of the way inaction can have enormous repercussions in a time when the wrong flag, wrong religion, or even a sunset can be subversive. Told with ferocious energy and sly, wicked humor, Milkman establishes Anna Burns as one of the most consequential voices of our day. Yeah, and she's from Belfast, Northern Ireland. So, again, with the Irish Studies thing, I think that is going to have some very interesting impacts on her storytelling. I'm just really excited for it. I'm really excited to have, finally have a couple of books on this stack that, I've been waiting to buy for such a long time. And then I do have 2 more things, but I just picked these up at the library today. Of course, I finally go into, the branch since moving to my new neighborhood, and it's the branch of the Boston Public Library that is closest to my new apartment. And I was talking with the librarian, just really excited and kind of looking around, and she's like, yeah, see how excited you are? I'm gonna have to burst your bubble. We're closing for renovations at the end of the month. But I love the main branch of the BPL too, so it should be fine. But I was just it's such my luck. But today I picked up these 2. So this is Frog Music by Emma Donoghue, and this is Elevation by Stephen King. I love Emma Donoghue. She can do no wrong. She was covered in one of my, it was a class that I took with one of my favorite professors at BC called Major Irish Writers, and we read her novel Hood, which I thoroughly recommend. It is a story of a woman whose long-term girlfriend has just passed away, and it is told in an Ireland where being gay is still illegal, and it is a story that follows the Odyssey. The main character's name, I want to say, is Penn, I believe. I need to reread it apparently because suddenly I'm not super sure. But her story with her girlfriend very much follows that and is just beautifully told. And then of course Emma Donoghue is known for Room and her masterful storytelling in that. And then this one she came and spoke to my class about because it was being published around that time, probably 2015, 2016. And it is based on an unsolved murder in 1870s San Francisco, which is just already a great start. It says summer of 1876. The city is in the fierce grip of record-breaking heat wave and a smallpox epidemic. Through the window of a railroad saloon, a young woman named Jenny Bonnet is shot dead. The survivor, her friend Blanche Bunyan, is a French burlesque dancer. Over the next 3 days, she will risk everything to bring Jenny's murderer to justice if he doesn't track her down first. The story Blanche struggles to piece together is one of free-love bohemians, desperate paupers, and arrogant millionaires, of jealous men, icy women, and damaged children. It's the secret life of Jenny herself, a notorious character who breaks the law every morning by getting dressed, a charmer as slippery as the frogs she hunts. In thrilling, cinematic style, Frog Music digs up a long-forgotten, never-solved crime. Full of songs that migrated across the world, Emma Donoghue's lyrical tale of love and bloodshed among lowlifes captures the pulse of a boom town like no other. I need to read it. It's been on my to-read list for such a long time. Pretty much anything she has ever written is on that list, including the one that just came out, which sounds so good. So, then the last thing is I have not read any Stephen King ever, and that just seems like something that I should fix. And this sounded really, really good. And it was also quite short, and I was telling you a little bit about my stress earlier, so it seemed like a good call. Oh, someone left a very aggressive dog ear in this page. We're just gonna try to get that. So it says Castle Rock is a small town where word gets around quickly. That's why Scott Carey wants to confide only in his friend Dr. Bob Ellis about his strange condition. He's losing weight without getting thinner, and the scales register the same whether he is in his clothes or out of them, no matter how heavy they are. Scott also has new neighbors who have opened a fine dining experience in town, although it's an experience being shunned by the locals. Deirdre McComb and her wife, Missy Donaldson, don't exactly conform to a lifestyle the community approves of. And now Scott seems trapped in a feud with the couple over their dogs dropping their business on his lawn. Missy may be warm and friendly, but Deirdre is cold as ice. As the town prepares for its annual Thanksgiving 12K run, Scott begins to understand the prejudices the women face and tries to help. Unlikely alliances form, and the mystery of Scott's affliction brings out the best in people who have indulged the worst in themselves and others. From master storyteller Stephen King, blah, 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 whatever. So, yes, it's short. Yes, it's not a novel that I've actually heard of from King before, but that hooked me so much. I love people coming together about things, especially things that maybe they don't understand about each other at the beginning of the novel. And then I'm also just really excited because it is very timely. They're preparing for a Thanksgiving 12K. 12K? What's a 12K? Do people run those? Anyways, they're preparing for a Thanksgiving run. I am going to be running a virtual 5K/10K. So it's just, I think it's a fun fall read, hopefully. So those are all of the books that I have been buying and checking out and picking up for free within the last couple of months. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know by hitting the subscribe button down below, dropping me a comment about what you're reading these days, or hitting the like button. You can also find me over on Instagram, like I said earlier, at Random Librarians, for shorter form written reviews instead of spoken kind of, scatterbrained ones here over on YouTube. So I hope I'll see you guys soon, and until then, happy reading.